Hello, everyone. Welcome to Design 105 Page Layout Tools. So we have concluded our first week. What did you guys think? How were the assignments? Amanda, this must have been smooth sailing for you because I know that you've had some experience with InDesign before. It was kind of interesting seeing the assignments come through. I gotta say, I was actually very impressed. The fact that you guys turned in some really awesome assignments. Some of you really know your stuff, or at least watch the recordings enough to work your way through it. So congratulations to all of you for completing week one. It was a lot of work. I think for 1 week's worth of work in a class, it was a lot. Good. I'm glad that it was pretty simple for you. So we created the smoothie page. That was what we were asked to make, and then you were supposed to try your hand at some ad designs. And we're just kind of copying, trying to mimic what you see. It's a really good idea to try to do that. In fact, for a good portion of my, I guess I could say, graphic design career was just trying to mimic a really cool design that I saw or an effect, try to get that same effect. So that's how I learned, trying to copy effects or styles, or try to like mimic a certain thing that I thought was a really cool addition to a layout. And so hopefully this is helping you familiarize yourself with InDesign a little bit, get to know the tools, and try to figure out, it's almost kind of like solving a puzzle, trying to figure out how you get that onto the page by using this tool. So we talked a little bit about the toolbar. We didn't go through all the tools, but by now you should be familiar with the black mouse, that moves objects around, the white mouse that clicks on certain anchor points and helps you select what's inside of a frame. You can move things around. It's pretty neat. You should be used to the type tool by now, being able to flow text into a document, copy and paste, drawing type boxes. We're going to be using all these tools again for the newsletter design. So good news is that no new tools will be introduced, really. You're going to just have to simply place a photo, be able to place text, and line things up. The only thing that changes now is we're going to be on a grid system. We're going to be working with columns and the baseline grid. And this is a little bit new. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming for beginners because we're not familiar with the terminology. But after a few simple steps, and I've got a YouTube video I'm going to show you that makes it really simple, and then I'll go over it with you guys. I just like the way he explains it. It's just pretty short and sweet and to the point. So I'll show you that. And plus, it gives you a break from hearing my voice all the time. I always liked when my instructors would show me videos or other things other than them talking. So I will be doing that with you guys today. Again, more tools. We're not going to be working with scissors or anything like that, but you might, and I actually don't know if you would use the gradient tool with these. Yeah, I think it's just placing text and pictures at this point. So backgrounds are clean, white. But might have a need for the eyedropper tool or the magnifying glass or even the hand tool. So again, as you're studying these tools on the toolbar, just familiarizing yourself with your toolbar or your toolbox, I like to call it, just because that's where you're going to keep everything that you're going to be using. And so if you don't know what a tool does, hopefully week one's discussion helped you. You looked up a tool, did some research on it, shared what that tool does and why it was one of your favorite tools. So hopefully you got to know the toolbar a little bit. And I thought you guys had some excellent posts. So I really, really had fun reading your comments. You worked with the type tool a little bit. Again, this is all just review. I wanted to just fly through this really quick. This breaks down hidden tools. We talked a little bit about that in our discussion one, and it sounds like some of you really feel comfortable with where these tools are located. And again, if you don't know what a tool is called, just hover your mouse over that tool on your toolbar, and it will pop the name up, and then in parentheses, it'll give you the keyboard shortcut. So that's kind of handy. And if after you become a seasoned veteran at InDesign layout, you'll be able to remember those keyboard shortcuts. If you don't remember where it is on the tool, you can access it a little bit faster by using your keyboard. And that's always a good thing to remember. Okay, so we did our smoothie one. Amanda, you said it was pretty simple, pretty easy for you. Again, I think the complicated thing was just attention to detail. The one thing I noticed, some of you though, where I think points were lost the most was properly packaging your InDesign file. There's a little bit more to it. It's a simple process, but there's more to it than just simply placing your InDesign file and your PDF in a folder. The actual process of packaging it takes all links, all fonts, everything that you're using, and it puts all that information into a nice folder. It even makes the PDF for you, so it saves you a step. But what's nice about that is that when I open the file on my end, I have all your fonts, I have all the photos, because assume you're sending it to a printer. They're not going to have those links or those fonts. Maybe some fonts are pretty standard in the industry, but if you're using a font that's not well known or something that hasn't been downloaded on my computer, I won't be able to view it, and then it will put in placeholder or it will kind of default to a font that you do have, and it really will throw off your layout. So it's really good to get familiar with the packaging process, because when you send to a printer, if you're going to pursue this as a career, you're going to, if you're going to move further into the industry, you're going to need to know how to package a file, and it's very important to do so. So most of you did fine, the other half not so fine on that area, and I think that's what hurt your grade. Some of you, it might have been a shocker to look at your grade and see where you lost so many points. I just sent out an email this afternoon. I had a few students give me a call today. I know everyone's a little concerned. It's week one, and I didn't get near the amount of points I thought I would. If you have any questions about why points were deducted from your assignment, please take a look at the grading rubric. Even within the grading rubric, there's a comment section, like a little speech bubble underneath the points that you're given. If you click on that, I put some comments in there to be more specific about where you needed to improve. So please check that out if you're wondering why you lost points. Just go refer to the rubric. There was some feedback on there for you. I took time to put the feedback on there, so hopefully you take the time to look at it. Now, I don't normally do this. I will be offering students who didn't do so hot on the assignment, didn't get the grade that they wanted, to resubmit it. There are 4 rules to doing that resubmission, and I emailed them to you. And the first one is you have to see me, the class tutor, or a tutor in the tutoring center, and go over the feedback that was given to you and make sure that you make those corrections. All the corrections have to be made. I think that was number 2. And the third one is, and you have to attend either the open lab or go see the tutors. But in the open lab, I'll be making the grade change. I think number 3 was, if you resubmit, you need to post in the comment section that you're resubmitting for extra points. And you got to email me. I think that was number 4. Email me, because unfortunately Dropbox doesn't notify me when you resubmit something. So it could probably sit there for 2 weeks and I would never know, because I don't go back looking at weeks that are past, because technically per college policy I'm not allowed to take anything over a week old. So so this gives you a chance to get everything in. And you have until this Saturday as your deadline, but I highly recommend coming to the open lab and passing it off that way. That way you are guaranteed a grade. You do know it, and I can look at it before you submit it, because it's only a one-time submission. You won't have an opportunity to keep submitting. Are there any questions about that? I mean, I don't know if that necessarily pertains to you, but okay, so yeah, so take advantage of this opportunity if you can. Those of you who are watching this from home via the recording, I think that this would be a good opportunity to, and the reason why I do require you to go see a tutor, whether it's me or someone else, is that this helps you learn where you made the mistake, and then you're able to go make those changes, and then you won't make the mistake again. Now you know how to package a file. I'm emphasizing packaging files because 1, it's a good thing. I just explained why you need to know. But 2, each week you're going to need to do it. And each week you'll get more and more points deducted, I guess, in a way heavier on the rubrics as the weeks go on, because it's kind of one of those things that you should know. So it's an easy way to get a good grade, or get points on your assignment as the weeks go by. Or B, it might hurt you because you didn't get it nailed down during week 1. So I don't want this to make you fall behind on assignment 2, but you do have this Saturday to turn them in simultaneously. Beyond this Saturday, I cannot accept any resubmissions, so please be aware of that. So Saturday, 5 p.m., you can resubmit for your week 1 work. And then let's see. I think that was all I needed to say. Oh, those of you who haven't turned in the assignment at all, there will not be any resubmissions or regrading, just simply because I can't take anything past a week old, and you won't get your grade anyways until Saturday. So that is unfortunately how that works, but hopefully with all the review that we're going over, it should be pretty easy for you guys. Okay, this is week 1 stuff, so I'll go ahead and move on. I want to move on to this one. Okay, so week 2, we're going to be talking about typography a little bit. Now, I think typography is so cool. It's like one of the coolest things in design and layout. I think that typography is just so interesting and intriguing, and it's pretty mind-blowing what some designers can do. They've just got a real knack for it. And in fact, typography is kind of like a niche thing. Like some graphic designers will just specialize in typography, and that's kind of what they do. I, on the other hand, I don't do that. I know how to do some typographic manipulation, but I don't go in and customize my own personal font. But a lot of designers will go and do that because they enjoy it so much, and it's actually really cool. So I pulled some examples here to show you. I'll be posting some examples throughout the discussion this week, and I hope that you do the same. It's not enough to just comment. I want to see you post an example that backs up your comment. And plus, this is a graphic design class. This is a visual class. So let's make it interesting and pull some pictures off online that you saw. I just Googled, and these were a few that I thought were pretty cool. So let's talk about typography, specifically in ad design too, because that's usually where you'll see a lot of cool effects done. It's usually in advertisement and design, a lot of marketing. So make sure that you can kind of search under that realm in Google, but to find what you're looking for. But again, it's pretty sweet to see what can be done. So have fun with this and share examples, as many as you want. Just be active. This is how I take participation in class, so or attendance in class. So just be sure to participate. And I think that was it for week 2. I did want to review the quizzes real quick because I usually like to do that before we move forward. There's not a whole lot of people in class, so I guess we can do this. Me and Amanda can do this, right? You can help me, Amanda. All right, so let's look at week 2. Let's see, we're on Monday. We'll do Mondays. Well, Monday will probably be over, so let's start Tuesdays. Okay, so again, some of this is for graduates or undergraduates, but what is a master promissory note, an MPN? How many years may an MPN be good for? I would think 10 years, because I think it says up to 10 years here. What do you think, Amanda? Do you see another number? I don't see another number. We'll go ahead and hit submit and see what it says. All right, woohoo. 5 points for me. Okay, let's do this next one. This is Wednesdays. Again, we're on the MPN. Graduate professional students are eligible for subsidized loans. I would say true. Yep, I think it says right here, unless I've read it wrong. Okay. Oh. Okay, so I guess it was false, but I'm trying to read it. If you're a graduate or a professional student attending a school that's authorized and chooses to make multiple loans under the same. Oh, they are not eligible for direct subsidized loans. Okay, so now we know the answer. This is why I like doing that, the quizzes before, because if you don't read the question just right, you'll get it wrong even though you've read it. Here's a video. Selecting the type tool and then clicking and dragging will automatically what? What do you think? Is it A, B, C, or D? Yep, D. It's going to create a new text frame for you. And we should all be pretty familiar with how that works because we did a lot of text in last week's assignment. Okay, here we're on Friday. Let's see where we're at for this one. Watch a video again. Please see the video. It's pretty helpful. Placeholder text is found under the type menu. True or false? What do you think? Yes, it's true. Very good. Okay, so we'll stop there. Saturday and Sunday, you're on your own, but I think this should help you out, get a good foundation for some, hopefully this gets you some points. Okay, and assignments, I wanted to point out your grading rubrics have been posted for assignment for week 2. So take a look at that. I'll show you real quick. Oops. Do the newsletter one. Okay, so your grading rubric is below here, below your assignment. This is for 120 points. Just make sure you read through it. No surprises here. You should be pretty familiar with the requirements just reading the description alone. But you are going to be graded on how closely your final product resembles the example. So we're going to talk about how to do that properly. And there's actually a few other stuff you need to familiarize yourself with: paragraph styles, master styles, aligning text to a baseline grid. So we'll learn how to do that. And I actually have a video for this that we're going to watch. So are there any questions about the assignments? Hopefully the grading rubrics will answer. Quizzes, you guys should get 5s across the board. And that kind of concludes that. Let's jump back to our slides. Now, one of the requirements for the newsletter design is you need to know how to do master pages. So I have a few slides to show you in case you're not able to work with me, and then I'll do a little demo for you. So let's talk about master pages. The way that you click or create pages is by clicking on your window. Remember, your window drop-down menu is kind of like where everything's at. That's kind of your central hub for your tools or your styles or links. And you just make sure that those dialog boxes, the pages dialog box is selected. And then you're going to double click the master page in the page area of your master or your pages panel. And I'll show you how to do this to create an extra page, or I'm sorry, to select the master page. Once you're on that master page, basically what a master page is whatever you put on this master page will be applied to all the existing pages in your document. Why is this helpful? Amanda, can you help me? Why is this helpful? Why are master pages needed or used? I'll put you on the spot. Yeah, exactly. So anything that needs to occur on all the pages, will be repeated. Now, let's think. Okay, so if we were doing a book, a lot of books, a lot of magazines, any multi-page document is usually created in InDesign. That's why InDesign is so awesome, because I worked in the magazine industry, so that's what I've used predominantly. Magazines, I did anywhere from maybe a 30-page magazine to a 100 to 200-page magazine. And believe me, if I had to add a page number to each one of those 200 pages, that would take up so much time, and to exactly align them in the exact place, I'd be pretty inaccurate. And so that really would save me time. So if I'm designing a book in InDesign or a magazine or anything with a lot of pages, this is definitely helpful. You're going to want a master page, because all I have to do is put one page number on a master page, and it will apply a page number to each page. It will assign each page number. Everything shows up in the exact spot, so everything looks very uniform, and I don't have to keep track of anything. If I delete a page, then it will automatically adjust for me. So I don't have to go manually, okay, did I delete page 99? So now what's the new 99? What's the new 98? So it saves you tons of time, and it's very helpful. And I'll show you that in InDesign, but I just wanted to explain to you the purpose of it. Also, if you're going to be doing something that requires a graphic, like a logo, to appear on each page, then you just place that logo on the master page, and it will appear in the exact same spot, in the exact same way on all the consecutive pages. So it's very helpful in that fact that if you're going to do something with a lot of pages, this is the way to go. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense maybe if we were doing one smoothie page, or if we were doing even a 4-page newsletter, it could be helpful. We're going to definitely want page numbers, and you're going to be graded on that. And then also, you're going to need to know how to use the master page, or maybe override the master page. So say you don't want or your page numbers appearing in a funky place on one layout, you can adjust that or change it or move it, and there's a way to override that. But master pages are very handy. You can add text boxes, links, pictures, objects, vectors, whatever you want on the page, and it will repeat it for you. So this is very helpful. So here's what it looks like, okay? When you open up your Pages panel, you'll have a master page, and you'll have a right side master page and a left side master page. So it's important to remember which one you're applying the text or the images or the effects on, so that you can keep track of where it'll show up. Now, in a spread view where you have, we called it the double truck, but it's actually just the two pages side by side, or better known as a spread in a magazine. When you have a spread, it's easy to see, okay, left and right. But when you have your cover, for example, so this first page right here would be your cover, it appears on the right side. So you have to remember that if you're applying something on the master that you want to show up on your cover, you need to make sure it's on the right side. So that's the only thing that kind of will throw things off. Other than that, you shouldn't have a problem. And it's pretty neat. So this acknowledgments, this letter A, this backdrop with this gray transparent box, this text box here is automatically, so I don't have to draw 200 text boxes. I just have to do it once, and then the text boxes will automatically appear where they need to be. So it's so handy, guys. It's one of those things that it intimidated me for a long time, and I don't know why. Master pages, maybe the name alone just made it sound daunting, but once I figured it out, I was like, where have you been my whole life? This is exactly what I needed. So hopefully you guys feel comfortable enough to try to figure it out and apply it, because you will be graded on it. So try to get as comfortable as you can. Amanda, do you have anything else to add? Anything from your experience? I always like to refer to my students especially if they feel experienced, if they want to add anything, any comment, you just throw it out there. We're going to also talk about creating a master page from an existing page. And again, you just select the Pages panel, click the window menu, and then we'll click our pages. You can drag and drop into a garbage can if you don't like it, don't want it. But Amanda did say that they are very useful, and you can have more than one set within a book if you need one. That's a good comment, Amanda. Thank you for sharing that. I did fail to mention, again, here's one set, here's a set E, here's set F. So in a document where you would have hundreds of pages, this would be a good way you can kind of organize your elements. If you don't want certain elements on certain sets of pages, this is a good way to apply it. And then you can even right click on a page and say apply the F master or apply the A master or whatever it is that you want applied. So it's really neat that you can pick and choose, organize it that way. So thank you for that comment. That was something I did fail to mention. Let's look at this. Okay, so here's what I was trying to explain, and forgive the low res imagery here, but you have your Pages panel. This is found in your window drop-down menu, and this is your page on number 2. This is showing your pages, okay? So you want to make sure you don't get confused which one you're on. I've had some students try to make changes on their master when they were trying to make changes on page 2, or vice versa, and it just threw them off. So make sure you know you're in your master pages. Make sure you know where you're at in your document. And then you can add a new master page by either clicking on this dog-eared page here at the bottom right next to the trash can. It's kind of a middle icon here at the bottom. That will create a new master page or a new page, just depending on which section you're in. And let's see what else you'll need to know. Yes, you can give it a name. You can organize it and say how many pages you want. So it's pretty simple. We're not going to use more than one master, so you don't have to worry about that. But we are going to need to incorporate a master page of some sort. So as long as you have something on your master page, you should be good. And then next, we're going to be designing a CD case, not an insert. It's just, well, not a CD case. It's just an insert. So I'll show you how to do that. And again, you're just going to be mimicking a design that's been given to you. And same thing with the newsletter. So are there any questions about this so far? Are we feeling good? Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. I'll go ahead and pull up my InDesign. And let me get it up real quick. Sorry, guys. If you haven't already, go ahead and download the links, the zip files, and everything for your newsletter and for your CD, and go ahead and get it pulled up onto your computer. That should save some time. I'm going to go ahead and get my newsletter here. All right, so I'll briefly explain master pages real quick. So let's first set up our documents. Let me go to, I just think it's 8.5 by 11, and we'll go to new document. Number of pages, you'll need 4 for this assignment, so go ahead and create 4. And you can deselect facing pages if it lets me. Oh, it's delayed. All right, and then page size is letter. You can just select letter, or to get in the habit, you can enter 8.5 inches by 11 inches. Same value here. It's just in picas. Your increments of measurement might be different than mine. It's just whatever it defaults to. You'll want portrait orientation. Now here's where to pay attention to. Do you see this columns area right here? This columns area, you're going to want 3 columns because we're doing a newsletter. It's almost like a magazine spread. We're going to be laying things out in columns, especially text. So we need to make sure that our text is separated correctly and is aligned correctly. So we're going to have this say 3 columns. I'm not going to worry about my gutter right now. That's not important. And then margins, again, I have it at 3 picas. Margin is just where this, see this big red, or the big magenta rectangle inside the outside magenta line, or I guess the inside magenta line. This is my margin. And a good rule of thumb is that about 3 picas is about 1/2 inch in. So it's about 1/2 inch in my page. So that's a good standard margin. I wouldn't adjust that at all. And you don't really need to, but to keep things consistent, you can just kind of keep it at 3 picas. Okay, everyone feel comfortable with this? Bleed and slug, this is interesting to note. We won't be needing this, but it's nice to know if you're going into the publishing industry. The bleed is just that little extra that kind of bleeds over the edge. It's just and if you have a background color, like we did the smoothie page, we had that yellow background. If we were to print that, we'd want to give it a bleed of maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, just so that that yellow bleeds over the edges. Because when you send to printers, if it doesn't have a bleed, sometimes you get kind of a funky cropping, and cropping means just cutting. And so sometimes you can have an uneven border around your page, or maybe you have top of this white border that's uneven around your page. It just doesn't get cut right. So you want to make sure that the color bleeds around all the edges. So it's just that little added extra insurance that we like to give ourselves. But in this case, we're not going to need it because we have a white background. So that won't apply to us today. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and I like hitting preview too, because you can see the changes as you're making them. If you don't want to see them, you can deselect it, but I always recommend having this box checked because it's very handy and helpful. All right, so, oh, and I almost forgot that if you are entering in your bleed, you would definitely need to, you could either enter the decimal value or you can enter the fraction. The cool thing with InDesign is it will convert it for you. So if I were doing 1/4 inch and tabbed it over, did you see that? It did 0.25 inches and then converted it to picas really fast, so 1p6. So this is really handy. Or you could enter, if you're good with math, you could just enter the decimal value, but I'm not usually that good with math when it comes to fractions and converting it into decimals, so I'll just enter the fraction sometimes. So 1/8 of an inch and tab it over, and then that's 0.1125. In the industry, you kind of have industry standards where they say 1/4 of an inch bleed or 1/8 of an inch bleed. Those are pretty standard ranges to use. So I eventually memorized the decimals, but if you don't know them, you can just enter in the fraction and it will convert it for you. So that's kind of nifty and handy. But in this case, we don't need a bleed, so I'm going to set that to 0, and we're going to go out. But thank you for reminding me, Amanda. Yes, it's very handy to have a decimal. All right, so few things we're going to need. We're going to need our paragraph styles, okay, handy. And the way you access that is by going to your drop-down window menu and make sure that your styles, paragraph styles, are checked right here, okay? Let me go to, let's see, and then you'll want your, obviously your character box. You're going to want to make sure that your pages is checked. This will bring out your pages right here. This is helpful because this is our master page right here, this A master. This is the one we want to be on. And then all the other pages will follow. This is the represents the inside of your magazine. The way that I help define the space is I usually make this box, I make the master box a lot smaller by just grabbing this double arrow will let me pull up the section. So I know that the master is the smaller section and my pages, my actual working pages, are in the larger box here, okay? So this is my actual working pages, this is my master pages. And this is a good way for me to define the space if I'm not familiar with it. And then these are my colors, my swatches are always handy to have. And let's see if I'm missing anything. I think that's it. Let's go ahead and pull up our stuff for our newsletter. Now, remind me, Amanda, are you able to work alongside or do you need to be able to toggle back and forth? I just want to make sure I structure this so that you can, that you're able to work with it. You work after, okay. All right, well then I'll just zip through it. Let me see if I can pull up my zip folder. Oh, it looks like it was removed. Why was it removed? Okay, I'll go in. You've done some, okay. Yeah, that's no problem. I just wanted to know if you'd be working with me. All right, I'll go ahead and download this. The problem with Zoom is there's all these little extra boxes, chat boxes and stuff I have to work around. So I'm trying to rearrange my screen as I'm doing this. All right, I'm downloading my zip folder. I'm sorry, I didn't follow my own advice. I had downloaded, but it showed it was removed. So I might have accidentally deleted it when I was cleaning up my download folder. Okay, so once you download it, it should pull up this dialog box here. Sorry, I'm having to work around all these little boxes. It's not very easy. I'm gonna shrink this over. I've got my downloads folder right here on the side. I usually like to have it because I'm a drag and dropper kind of person, so I'll drag and drop. All right, so we'll need the example. Here's the example right here of the first page. So I'm just going to drag that in from my folder. Now, if you're on a Mac, or a PC, I don't know if it necessarily allows you to do that. So a simple way to do that is just to go to File and go to Place. And then from there, you can find the folder that it's been downloaded to, and then click on Example, and then click on Open. And then it will open it for you. You can place it just as it is, the current size. It should be an 8.5 by 11. Now remember, in our smoothie page, what was the first thing that we did? Yes, exactly. We need to set up our layers. So we're going to go up to our drop-down window menu and go find Layers. Our Layers panel will open up. And this is where we're going to start labeling and kind of get ourselves organized. If you're not an organized person, you will be after this mod. Believe it or not. Okay, so this is my example layer. Remember, my example layer is going to be hidden after I've created this document, but because we're trying to copy it, we need to be able to have the exact proportions of things. We need to know what it's going to say. Now, I believe it gives you I don't think it gives you text. Okay, that's right. You can give it a layer color right here. You can change it to whatever suits you. And then I'm going to hit OK. So I'm on my example layer. Next layer, click this Create New Layer button right here by my trash can on the panel. This new layer is going to be my text. I'm going to hit OK. Next layer, images or pictures. Okay. And then I think that's it. I think that's all I'll need. We'll just keep it simple. Now, for your grading rubric, on the grading rubric for your assignment this week, you will be graded on whether or not you have layers. You'll be graded on whether or not you have paragraph styles and whether or not you have used a master page. So we need to be sure that we check those things off the list before we submit the assignment. Now, I'm going to go to my example layer. I'm going to click on it. Remember, try to get in the habit of locking other layers before you move on, because it will prevent you from moving things around or shifting things unbeknownst to yourself. Sometimes I've moved things around and I'm like, oh man, I put it on the wrong layer, or I forgot to lock that layer and it moved everything around. So it kind of messes me up even. So just try to get in that habit. And then on this example layer, I'm going to go right up here to where my opacity is. And I'm going to shift it to, I don't know, 40%, 40, 50%, just so that it's transparent enough that you can still lay text over it and see if you're getting it right, but also so it's not so bold that you don't know if it's your own work or the example's work. So I'm going to do that. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to lock my example layer, and I'm going to start with my graphics, because I think that's the easiest thing to do. I usually like to place graphics before my text in this case, because it takes up more of the space. Right now, there's more graphics than there's text, so the ratio, I like to place the larger things on the page first. And then also you can work around the graphics to make sure you rearrange your text correctly. There's no right and wrong way to do this. It's just preference, and as you do it long enough, you'll grow to have a preference too. All right, so this logo here, I don't know if it's going to let me open it. I might have to, whoops. Let me go back and open it 1 second. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is you'll just need to open it in Illustrator, pull in the logo. I've already done that, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. All right, so here's the logo. Now, please notice on the example here at the top, it has a month and a year. Okay, so we're going to need to enter that in ourselves. So don't overlook that, okay? So we're going to put it up, and then I'm going to grab my type tool, which is right over here. Lots of boxes are open right now. You know, I can even get rid of my swatches, I think, for now, because I'm not working with them. All right. So, so first things first, so I'll place my logo on my images. There we go. So now my images layer. There we go. And you'll know if you're on the right layer if your color coordinates with the frame around it. Okay, so now that I've placed my logo, I'm gonna grab my other pictures, and then I'll go in and do all the text. Airplane is one. This one, I just need to, oops. I'm just making sure that everything aligns correctly. There we go. Okay, now remember, what do we need to do with our picture once we've adjusted the frame size? We need to, there's an icon up here that says fill frame proportionately. You need to click that, and that will adjust, that will proportionately resize all the elements in the frame. And the key here is keeping things proportionate. I don't want to see this. I'll show you. I don't want to stretch. I don't want to see anything that's skewed. I want to make sure everything is filled proportionately. Right, Amanda? Good job. So the way that you access that is there's an icon right here at the top that says if you hover over it, fill frame proportionately. Or you can go access it by selecting your frame first, making sure it's selected, going to Object, Fitting, and then Fill Frame Proportionately right here. And then there's other effects that you can mess with, but the one that we want for this assignment is Fill Frame Proportionally, okay? So once that is done, and I actually believe that there's a little bit of space, so I think it cuts off like right here. So I need to go in and adjust that. Okay, so I don't extend the box all the way up. I need some room for this headline. Okay, now I need the staff picture. I'm going to drag and drop. Same concept here. Now, here's the key. I'm going to zoom in and show you something that I'd be looking for in the grading process. When I'm lining something up, I'm going to grab my ruler here at the top and drag. This allows me to line up my images alongside this line. So I don't want photos to be off the grid. I want them to stay within their column. They aren't to go, you have this double purple line here. I don't want any text or images to be in the middle of this double purple line. What this is your column divider. This gives breathing room to your elements. It keeps everything uniform and accurately aligned. So I don't want to see anything overlap in that middle section. Just pretend that it doesn't exist. These are three separate layouts, if you will, and you don't go over that purple line at all. So we just want to stay within, yeah, very clean. And then we're going to just adjust this picture here. I don't know where it ends. I think it's right here. Fill frame proportionately. Now I've got my picture. So it's aligned here at the bottom with my ruler that I've got, my little guide that's going to show me I don't have anything overlapping. And it lines up perfectly with my airplane photo. So far, so good. Everything is aligned correctly. Again, you want to stay within your purple margin, which is this magenta rectangle box within your canvas or your artboard or your whatever, the page. You want to just line everything up so everything lines flush with it. Again, we want clean gutters, just like Amanda said. We want nothing in the middle of this column here, okay? This is kind of dividing all the elements. And then let's see, our last one is this girl, the employee photo we're going to place. I'm going to line it up. Now notice how I'm adjusting the frame just until I get it correct. And then I'm going to go up here, again, object fitting, fill frame proportionately, and it will do that for me. So she's lined up, my pictures are placed, my logo's in, so all my images are done. So I will lock my images, and I'm going to unlock my text layer. Make sure you're on your text layer when you're doing this. We're going to now work with our headlines and our body copy. So I'm going to grab my type tool, and just like our quiz question, the way you access or use your type tool is you click on the tool, you click and drag a text box, the size that you need it to be. So I'm just extending it from one end of the margin to end at the third column. And then I'll type in today in the sky. Now, here's something I want to point out. They did not provide any text for you, so all the headlines do need to be typed by hand. I do recommend you running a spell check on this before you do so, either in Word or you can do it in InDesign. Just highlight it and then give it a font size. So I'm just going to adjust this. Oh, first I need to change it to a sans serif font. So I believe this is this Helvetica? It might be Arial. Let's see what we got. We'll want it bold. It might actually be Arial narrow. Do Arial narrow. There we go. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And we're going to keep it bold. So then we're just going to increase the font size until we get it to where we need it to be. I'll do about, let's see, we're 60 points, might be too much. 50 points, okay, that might be good enough. So it's about 55 points. Again, it doesn't match exactly. It might be a different font now that I'm thinking of it. Any sans serif font should do. What's Myriad? Let's try Myriad. Myriad Pro Bold Condensed. That's the font. Okay, so we got it. Myriad Pro Bold Condensed. And I believe, now I'm just messing with the font size until I get the right font size. So I got it at 64, looks about right, and that seems to match up pretty good. So the font is Myriad Pro. I've got it lined up. I'm going to drag, click and drag another type box. I'm going to do all my headlines first, and I want to just keep them about roughly the same size as the headline that is there already. So travel bargains. And again, this is Myriad Pro. Okay, so here's something I want to point out. We'll do this one first. I'm going to go to my paragraph styles. Here's where a paragraph style comes in handy. When you're creating a book or a magazine that works with several pages, it is a lot of steps to be able to type in text, highlight text, go give it the assigned font family, change the font size, make it the right font weight. I mean, there's a lot of steps to writing out a headline. So if I wanted to save myself a step, because it looks like the headline over on the third column, the sky's the limit, it looks like that one's the same size, same everything. So I'm going to create a paragraph style, so I only have to do this once. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to give it a name. Or let's see, actually click on a new, create new style. We'll do that. New paragraph style. If you double click on the name, you can rename it. So I'm going to type this, this is going to be sub headlines. And then I can double click on the box. This will bring up a paragraph style options box. Now, under basic character formats is where you'll want to be. You can give it a size and a weight of leading. Leading is the space between each sentence of text, each line of text. You can increase the size to be more, give it more space, or make it look like it's about equivalent to the single spacing or the double spacing in Word. That's kind of the effect it's giving you. So it's just giving you, it's just measuring the distance between each line of text. You'll hear a term called tracking that measures the distance between each letter in your text. So don't confuse them, but leading is just the space between each line of text. So I'm going to give it a size. After all, this is a document. I'm probably going to say it's about 8.5 font. And I want to give it a leading of 12. 12, we'll see we'll see. I might have to adjust it later. Let me click on preview so I can see what size. Maybe it might needs to be a little larger. Let's see. Oh, not 90 for sure. Okay, and all right, we'll stick with 10. I'll stick with 13 for my leading. Whoops. Double click it again. Basic character formats right here. And then I don't think I need anything else. I've got the name. I think I'm good. You can go in and do other really cool things like drop caps and nested styles, bullets and numbering. You can set your own presets and then save it. What we're going to do with this paragraph style is we're going to hit OK, and now it's saved. So if I want to copy something over, it will copy it. Now I forgot we were on the subheadlines. I was trying to match the body copy, so I apologize. We'll go back to basic character formats. I'm going to give it a font size. See, I need to give it a font first. This is the Myriad Pro. Oops. And we want this to be bold condensed. And I'm going to give it a font size. No, that's not there quite yet. I think it needs to be a little smaller, so I'll try 26. That's pretty close, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so it bugs me if it doesn't line up exactly. All right, so we're at 27. It doesn't matter what the leading is at this point because we're not going to be double lining our headlines. I guess you could say it's 20, 28 or something like that. Okay, so everything's going to remain the same. I've got my headline lined up right here. I'm going to grab my black mouse and kind of just make sure it's lined up over that shadowed area so everything looks like it lines up perfectly. And then I'm going to grab my type tool and I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to make sure everything lines up perfectly. I'm going to type in there. Now here's where I'm going to be applying my paragraph style. I'm going to click on subheadlines, and it will automatically copy the font, the size, the font weight and keep everything the same as I did in this previous headline. Now, if I was creating multiple pages with this similar paragraph style, this would come in handy because then I don't have to go in and change it multiple times. So in this case, I do need to adjust the size slightly because it is a little bit larger than the box will allow. So it's about 25 points. I'll just adjust that at the top left of my screen. I'll make sure that this box aligns. And here is a very handy tool I showed you earlier. I'm going to zoom in. You can take this ruler that you've been using, grab it from top here, and just make sure that your boxes are all aligned perfectly. Make sure that the font lines up perfectly. Same thing with the end of the box. You want to make sure everything is just very uniform. This allows for a very clean layout. Okay, so I'm almost done with my text. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, so it's pretty simple. I don't know if we're going to go through the entire thing. I just wanted to show you some basics. Here's something before we come back, and then we might move on to our CD. And Sarah, I'll do a few more demos in the newsletter ad. But one thing you're going to need to know is how to flow text into your document. You're not provided with a Word document to copy and paste. So you're going to need to use what we call filler text. Now, the filler text is just the Latin text that they give you. And the way that you do that is you click on your type tool, and you'll just create one box there, and you'll go to type at the top, fill with placeholder text right here. And what it does is it'll put some random text, I believe it's Latin, whatever it is, it's going to flow it in there, okay? And you'll want to do that again for your other type boxes. Whoops. Now, you want to make sure your headline boxes are up a little bit because it won't let you draw the box over another text box. So I'm going to do this and go to type, fill with placeholder text, okay? It'll throw that in there. I don't care if words don't line up correctly. I just want to make sure that the lines line up correctly. That's why we're going to need to call in our baseline grid. That's why it's so important. Again, please note, I'm not going over my margin line here. Everything's lined up with it perfectly. And even here, I need to kind of fine tune, keep my gutters clean. And in this box, I'm going to flow in the type. Now that I have my placeholder text lined up, I need to make sure, yes, this is going to be justified text. And that might be something good to go over. If you're not familiar with how to format text, in Word, you're familiar with centering text or left justified or right justified, right? Under the paragraphs, formatting controls, you have the same options. You can justify left, you can center your text, you can right justify it. The way it's flowed now is it seems to be left justified. So that's how I like to keep it. You could do justify with last line, but I don't like to do that. They don't. When I worked for my magazine, they just did left justify, and it looked a lot cleaner to the eye, and kind of doesn't, because what happens if you click the other setting, it puts like uneven amounts of space between words just to fill in the right side of the edge of the box, and it doesn't seem to look very, very good. So I like left justified. I think that's what they're using in here, so we'll just stick with that. That's a great question, Amanda. Thank you. And then once we've flowed in our text, now we have to format it, okay? So we're going to do the first text box here. First thing you'll notice is they have a larger letter I here behind the example. That's what we call a drop cap. A drop cap is just, it kind of shows in a book or in a magazine, because you have so much text, those documents are pretty text heavy. You kind of need to know where an article starts and stops. So for in a magazine or a book, they'll have what's called a drop cap. And a drop cap is where they enlarge the first letter of the sentence, kind of saying, here, this is where I start. This is where the story starts. So that's what we're going to do with ours. I'm going to go ahead and type in an I, just so that it looks like the example. And I'm going to go over to my drop cap settings, which Probably want to create a new paragraph style for this. And I'll double click it. This is going to be my drop cap. And you'll find that under, yeah, with a serif text. That's right. You're definitely going to want a serif text. So let's go in and make sure we define the font that's being used. You can use Minion Pro or Times New Roman, whatever you would like. I'm going to keep my font. This is fairly large font, so I'm going to kind of shrink my font down to about, it looks like it's about 10 or 11. I'll stick with 11. That's an unusually large font for a magazine article, but that's okay. We'll just keep it at 11 and make sure our leading is, I like to keep the leading about 2 or 3 points higher than my font size, okay? So if I do about 14 font, that looks about right, and it seems to kind of match up a little bit. And once I've assigned my font family and given it a size and the leading, I'm going to go down here to drop caps. Now, when you increase a drop cap, I'm going to increase it about, it looks like it's 3 lines. Increase it to 3 lines, and you saw that as I was decreasing it and increasing it, where it's changing. It's just that first letter of the sentence, okay? And that's all you highlight before you make this change. You can do a character style. There's lots of stuff you can do with it. I just want to increase the actual, the first letter. So this is all I'm going to do right now. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Now that it's formatted, I need some more text here at the bottom to go all the way down to my text box because I adjusted the size before I filled the text box before I made the changes. So I'm going to go down here to type, fill with placeholder text, and it will just kind of fill in the rest of my text box. Okay. So now I have my drop cap. I'm going to bring it down so it aligns good with the example one right there. And we won't need to worry too much right now about aligning because we're going to get into that in just a minute. I'm just, again, just making sure everything lines up good. I'll need to highlight this. I'm going to do another paragraph style, and this is going to be my body text without the drop cap. And I'm going to go to basic character formats, Minion Pro, size 11, was it 14-point leading. And then this one will not require a drop cap because in most cases, you're not going to need it. You only really need it for the first page. I'm going to go to fill with placeholder text, fill in that extra space there at the bottom. Now I'm going to highlight this third one, and I'm going to click on body text. So it's automatically going to adjust my text. Now when you do that, it's only going to change what you've highlighted. So you need to make sure you click Command A to highlight what's in the box. Now for a PC, I believe is it Command or Control? I think it's Control A for a PC shortcut to highlight everything within your text box. Then click body text again to make sure that it's even. There we go. Yeah, Control A. Okay, perfect. So it looks about right. It looks like it's lining up fairly right. And we have everything placed. The one thing that I do need to do is draw this in this issue box. For some reason, I always seem to skip it in my demos. And for some reason, it seems to stumble the most the students. So I'm going to go ahead and do it real quick. But what I want to talk to you about first is align to baseline grid. But I think I'm going to wait to do that when we come back from the break because I have a video to show you. So we'll do this in this issue box really quick. We're going to draw a red rectangle, and I'm going to double click on my fill box and give it just a red color. Or if you want to grab the exact red that's in the logo, that would be even nicer. Grab the eyedropper tool and click on the red that you want to capture. It'll say, oh, this is RGB, that's fine. Because we're not really printing this right now, so it's not going to matter too much. And then I'm going to do another rectangle box. This is, and I want it to line up evenly with the bottom of my photo, and I want the text on my left side to line up evenly with the bottom of that photo. So I really want everything aligned perfectly. This box is going to be gray. I'm just going to grab some gray that's in this photo here. And then my type I'm going to draw a box outside of it. And I believe it's all caps. Myriad Pro. And I'm going to increase my font. I'm going to do a bold and line it up here. Now the font color is white, so I'm going to go to my window color swatches, click on white. And sometimes your text box might extend beyond where the area that you're working in. You can bring that up. It's always good to keep everything nice and tidy because if boxes overlap or sometimes if you're trying to draw a text box over another text box, it messes you up. So just be sure that you keep everything nice and clean. And then with the text, you'll just enter in your text again. You'll draw the text box, click and drag, type in. Remember the type is very small, so I would bring it down quite a bit, maybe 10 point. And then nothing too fancy. I'm sure we're just gonna draw our page numbers. And you can copy this line, that's fine. It doesn't have to be exact, it's just a graphical element on the page that we wanna make sure we copy. So I think that's about it. Oh yeah, one thing that often overlooked is that month and year that we need to put here above the logo. Let's not forget to do that. So what are we in? March 2016. And we'll want to format it correctly. So I'm going to grab this eyedropper tool. I'm going to grab the headline. Now it's going to make it a lot bigger, but I'm just going to bring it down. Oops. Might still be too big. Let's adjust that. Oh, I know what it's doing. Hang on. 1 second. Okay, type tool. There we go. March 2016. Change it to white, and I want Myriad Pro. Why is it doing that? Oh, I know why it's doing that, because I am not on the right layer. Oh no, I am. So why is it not letting me? What is going on? I'll have to troubleshoot over the break. So got that highlighted. Click on white, it makes it disappear. Why does it make it disappear? And set to front. Let's see here. Well, that's odd. How strange. I don't know why it won't show over here. What's the way over it? Let me see. Oh, that's why. I guess my oh well. Well, there it is. I had to put it on a different layer. Don't ask me why it did that. I've never seen that before. That is so odd. Anyways, I'm just going to format my my date to about the same font, Myriad Pro. Remember, you want to keep things consistent, so all the headlines are the same font. The body text is all the same font. Another common misstep is that when I'm grading, I see in the body text that the text is different sizes or different font families, and we want to keep it all very consistent. So after that date has been placed over the logo, go back to text. And I think this one's pretty well done. Oh, we didn't do this blue take a flight box, but we'll go ahead and take our break and we'll come back and finish it. And then we'll jump into the CD insert assignment. Are there any questions, Amanda, that you have for me before we move on? Yeah, this is pretty simple for you, I'm sure. So we're gonna go ahead and stop here and then we'll move on and we'll talk about our baseline grid when we come back. I have a movie that we're gonna watch, or a video, and then we're gonna finish up this page. We'll jump in. I'll let you do the second page because everything's pretty much same setup. One thing I do want to show you real quick is the, let's go here, this page number on the master page. Well, I'll talk about it when I come back. We'll do master pages, baseline grid, and the CD insert when I get back. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're back and we're ready to jump into my long list of to-dos. So let's talk about the master page real quick. Here is how you're going to be required to apply it in this newsletter. You'll want to click on the A master page, double click, and we'll bring this big page up for you. We're going to zoom out so that I can see it a little bit. All right, so let me clean up the clutter for you. Just for the master page, we won't need all of this. I don't think we won't need paragraph styles. Won't need swatches. Okay. So you can access your master page on your Pages panel. If you don't have it up, just go to Window and select Pages right here. And we'll bring this dialog box up. So on our master, this is where we're going to be, you can incorporate, you'll probably use this more for the CD insert than you will for the newsletter, but just so that we have something that we're using the A master for, we're going to include a page number on the newsletter. So this will help us, and I believe I have to double check the example. Let me see. The example doesn't have a page number, but I'll show you how this concept works. So we're going to grab our type tool, and I'm going to click on this. I'm actually going to bring this text box up into the margin, so it leaves a nice clean space on the outside. And I'm going to type in, or I'm going to make sure my cursor is blinking within that type box. Now you'll know you're in your you're in your master page when you see this dotted line on any object, whether it's a frame or a box or like a shape or a picture or a type box. It will have this dotted line, so it shows you this is the master. So whatever you're putting on this master will show up on every page. Now, instead of having to label pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make sure that they're aligned perfectly, using a master page will allow me to add an element that will be perfectly aligned on every page, just as you see it here. So it saves you a lot of steps. So we're going to go to Type, Insert Special Character, go to Markers, Current Page Number. Now you'll see it places an A, so you're like, well, that's not a number. But on your other pages, it will, in fact, if you double click on each page, inside page, let me scroll this down for a little. Page 3, page 4, page 2, page 1, and it's all there. Now, so that's the first step. So it's on all the pages, so we know that. Now what I want to do is format. I want to give it a font. So I'm going to change the font. I want Myriad Pro. We're using Condense, so I'll do Condense, or let's see, we'll do regular or bold, that way I can see it. And I want the font size to be small. It doesn't need to be very big, so I'll do 10. And then I'm going to move this text box down a little bit so it lays flush with the margin line. I'm going to kind of move it away from the margin. You could add other things like the date if you want. I'm going to tab over till I get to about right here, March 2016. Let's see. And just do regular. So you can format it that way. And this is how you'll see it on all the pages. You can center it. Yeah, I'm just going to make sure everything's lined up nice. And then to double check to make sure it's applied, you can click on any one of these inside pages. So page 3 has the date, the page number. So it's really kind of cool how it does that for me. Now, if you look on page 1, at first it was kind of up in my text, so you couldn't really see it. Now, say I wanted to override this. I don't want it on my page 1, pretend. We'll right click on that page 1 and we'll click on Override All Master Page Items. So what this does is it makes it editable. So now I can click on that box and take it off if I want, or I could move it if I need to move it, or change the color if I need to change the color. So this allows me to alter my text, my master page items. And whereas I can't move anything right now, it's not editable unless it's edited on the master page. So it's just, it takes a little bit of getting used to, a little bit of practice, but this would be a good way to apply a master page item by putting your page number and the date on your document. Are there any questions about master pages? Okay, so again, this will be more applicable to the CD insert where you'll have a background that you'll probably want to apply the background to all the pages, and you'll want certain elements on it as well. So that's probably where you'll use it more, but just to say you have something on this would be a good place to start. Okay, don't forget this little box in the background, Take a Flight of Discovery. I'm probably not gonna have time to design all of it, so I'll just show you real quick. You can choose to use the pen tool, or you can choose to draw a rectangle or a square and a triangle. So real quick, you'll draw a square, you'll fill it with that blue, and then draw a triangle also. Another thing you could do is once you've drawn a square, you can click on your direct selection tool, or let's see, we need our pen tool for that. You'll want to add an anchor point. So I'm going to click here in the middle. Then I'm going to grab my direct selection tool and I'm going to double click on it until it turns white. When it turns white, let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. Double click on this little anchor point right here. When it turns white, it will allow you to manipulate it. So you can just kind of extend the point of the box. I think that is probably the simplest way to do it. You could use the pen tool, but not everyone is familiar with how to do that. You could also use a square and a triangle and use the Pathfinder tool and merge them together. That's a couple extra steps. So I just recommend creating it this way. So I'll back up so you can see how it was done. I just drew a standard box. Yeah, exactly. And Amanda's just saying make sure that the only one that's white is the one that you want to move. So here's my box. And now if I grab my pen tool, hold it down, remember those hidden tools we talked about, you're going to want to add an anchor point. So you click on that and you'll know it's add an anchor point when you see that plus sign on top of the pen tool. Its job is to add an anchor point. Now I could add several anchor points. That's its job, but that's not what we're doing in this assignment. You only need one in the center. Try to get it pretty lined up if you can. And then once you've done that, notice how it's blue. Let me zoom on in even more. Wow, they do not get any bigger. Well, this little dot right here, if you can see it, this one is blue and all the others are blue as well. But to change it, we need to make sure we have our direct selection tool. And I kind of click on it maybe once or twice just to get it to change. Let's see. Let's see if we can, there, hold down shift and click it. That will do it. So I'll do that one more time. We'll grab our pen tool, add our anchor point tool, grab the direct selection, hold down shift and click on it, and that turns it white. The others will remain blue. When it turns white, that's the one that you want to grab with the white arrow and click and drag. And that's a pretty simple way to create that box. Not a whole lot to it. And then you'll need to put the text on behind it. I recommend moving the box, typing the text, making sure everything lines up, and then moving the box back over to, and then placing your text. So that's what I recommend doing. That way you can see you're matching everything up according to size, weight, and the spacing is correct. All right, I think that takes care of our cover page. Please note that you will need to do 2 pages for this assignment, so you'll need to work on the inside page yourself. I did kind of the basic stuff you'll need to know, and the second page is a lot easier. It's just placing the text, and I believe your ads need to go on the 3rd column. So that's pretty simple, shouldn't take up too much time. If you guys need questions or have questions or need any answers to questions or help with this, just come tomorrow to my open lab. Be happy to step you through it. Okay, next thing we need to know is how to align to a baseline grid. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we're gonna go over that, and I have a video to show you. Okay, let me grab my link. Stop the share for a second. Wait. Ah, sorry. Let's start this over, share the screen so you can see it. All right, let me know if you have trouble with sound or anything like that.
text to the baseline. So what I'm going to do to start with is actually show my baseline.
Can you hear it? Too low.
Okay, so we see that our text is not aligned.
Can you hear it?
So this is the baseline grid. The baseline is the line.
Or we'll start it over.
So it's
1 second.
not aligned to the baseline grid. And
Can
we
you hear
also
it?
see that it's really big. What I'm going to do is go into my style sheet that all this text is styled as body copy, and I'm going to look at the size of it. I think this is a bit big for my magazine, so I'm going to go 8.5 over 10. And we have to take note of our leading here. Our leading is 10 points. Okay, so now I can get out of here, and what I need to do is go and set my baseline to 10 points. So I'm going to go to InDesign, Preferences, and choose Grids. Once I'm in here, I see that I have my baseline grid settings. So they're set as light blue. Let's change it just for the heck of it. They start at 3 picas from the top of the page, and so do my margins. Okay, so I set a margin up here. So the baseline grid starts where my margin starts in this case. So I just said from the top of the page, and then I want it to increment every 10 points because that's my leading. The view threshold makes it that the guides disappear when you zoom out. If you're zoomed out far enough, you just won't see the baseline grid. Okay, so it's not really the end of the world. And the rest of this has to do with the document grid, so I don't care about it right now. So the important thing was to change this to 10 points, and I go ahead and click OK. So that made, you saw the guides, the baseline grid changed to red, and they got closer together. Now we have our baseline grid, but our text doesn't align to it. Oh, and just so you know, the changes that you make in preferences while your document is open only apply to that document. If I create a new document and go and mess with the baseline grid, it will not be at 10 points. It's going to be back at 14. Okay, so or whatever the default was. So preferences apply to the document. If you want to change your preferences and have it apply to all documents, what you need to do is close your current document you have open, go mess with your preferences, and every future document will have those preferences, will have those settings. Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to go into my body copy style sheet. I'm going to go to indents and spacing, and I'm going to choose to align all the lines to my baseline grid. So you just saw it all jump in the background, everything aligned to the baseline grid. And you can see that I already had a first line indent in this style sheet. So this works out well. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger now that I see what it looks like. So that's looking pretty good. We have our text aligned to the baseline grid. What I could do also to give me smaller increments to work with is put in half of the size for my baseline grid. So let's take a look at this. I do this when I want to use a space between the paragraphs, the space after. So let's take a look. I'm going to go InDesign, Preferences, and Grids, and set it for 5 points. Okay, so I'm going to go, so the half of 10. I'm going to click OK, and the text stays where it is, but I get this extra line in here. So watch what I'm going to do now. Let's say this wasn't a magazine, it was some other kind of layout. I could go into my style sheet, go to indents and spacing, it all still lines up. But what I'm going to do is take out my first line indent and put a space after of 5 points. So as soon as I hit the up arrow, it jumps to the next line. These lines behave like magnets. So as soon as I start pushing away from a line, it jumps to the next one. So let's see what this looks like. This is a second way of doing it. So you either use a first line indent or a space after, not both. And in a magazine, you use a first line indent because this burns too much space here, this big gap. These add up in the magazine and it's taking up a lot of room. So let's go ahead and click OK, Command 0 to zoom out, and see my baseline grid disappeared at 75%. So we can see what our text looks like. I'm going to zoom back in, and if I hit W on the keyboard, I get my preview, and I see that my text looks absolutely gorgeous. This gap is really nice. Everything is still aligned to the baseline grid, and we're hunky-dory.
Okay, so what did you think of that video? I thought he did a good job of explaining it, and he brought up some really good points. So I won't go through everything, but I'll just kind of sum up what he was talking about. I liked this video because he has this really cool zoom in effect where everything kind of blacks out on the outside and it just hones in on his mouse, so you can really see where he's pointing to. So that's why I like that video. We don't have the software that does that, so just kind of wanted to make sure for something that requires really tedious explanation, I thought he did a good job. Okay, so let me get everything lined up. Move everything over. Wow, I've got a lot of windows open. Grading rubric. Okay, so first things first is now he talked about the baseline grid. We understand that it's just the spacing between, or it just kind of lines up your sentences. So what we need to do is select. Okay, so what we need is go to View, Baseline Grid, or Grids and Guides, and then you want to show baseline grid right here, okay? You're going to click on that. What that does is it shows you where it's all set up right now. And then next we need to go to paragraph styles. So we will want to go, can close out of these layers for just a little bit. I just want to show you the dialog box that you need to focus on. Go to Styles, Paragraph, and then that comes up, okay? Now we've kind of played with this a little bit, but what we need to do is click on the body text, because this is the one that we're on. And I need to, sure, let's see, we're gonna go to basic character formats. Now it's important that you set your baseline grid to be the exact same as your letting value. So we wanna make sure, I've got it at 14. So then we're gonna go to indents and spacing. I think that's all for that one. Okay, so next we need to go to set all the baseline to 10 points, or not to 10 points, to 11 points, because that's what we have, right? So we'll hit OK, or let's see. Yeah, I think we're good. So we're gonna go to InDesign up here at the top, Preferences, and then you're gonna go to Grids. This pulls up your preferences. And again, he noted, and I thought, Amanda, that was important, or it was interesting that you said important point, because I thought this too. I actually forgot to mention this, so I'm glad that he brought it up, was that whatever you're setting up here in these preferences will not be applied to any new documents that you add. So after you go into the preferences and you make some changes, it will only be applied to this document that you're working on. So when you pull in after you're done with your newsletter, you pull in your CD, you're going to do your CD insert, you're going to have to duplicate these steps, okay? It won't be applied to any of the new documents. All right, now once you're in InDesign Preferences, you're gonna go to Baseline and Grids. So we're here. And this is where we're gonna, he said the view threshold. This is important to note. This is, I guess the lines will disappear once you go beyond 75% view. You can adjust this, and that's not really relevant for this particular assignment. I mean, it just kind of helps you with your view. You can also hit W on your keyboard. That will make the grids disappear. Okay, so the increment let's see, let's do, what do we have, 11? I think 11's good. Whoa, go to InDesign, Preferences, and Grids. Okay, just force of habit, I always hit Enter. Okay, and then you can change the color. He changed it to red. I don't mind blue. It makes me feel like I'm on note paper. That's fine. And top of page, let's see. Oh, we have 14 lettings, so I'm gonna do 14. I forgot about that. And then I think that's all we need for this. We're not gonna need to worry about the document grid settings. So we'll hit OK. We'll also need to make sure that the, oh yeah, the start point is 3P0. This is, again, about ½ an inch as far as measurement's concerned. And then we changed it to 14 point because that's my letting. And now to view the threshold just means that if you want to zoom out far enough, we talked about that you won't see the baseline grid. So the rest of this has to do with the baseline grid. We just ignored that portion. We didn't need to alter it, the document grid settings. Now, the important thing was just to adjust our leading to 14 because that's what it says up here in our font. 14, right up here. You see that? So we just wanted it to match. Now we're going to go into the body copy style sheet. So the body text here and our paragraph styles. And we're going to he showed you how to indent and to adjust spacing. We're not going to worry about that right now because there is no indenting on our example document. In fact, we don't even need to worry about returns. So we won't review that part. But if you're curious about it, you can go back and watch the video. Now you could add extra lines in between. Again, we don't need that. All we need to do is go to see. Yeah, I think that's all you need to worry about as far as just setting up your baseline grid and make sure everything is lined up. Okay. Are there any questions? Oh, one last step we didn't do is we're going to need to highlight our boxes. This is the last step you need to do. Once you've set your baseline grid, go into your body text and go to, I think it is indents and spacings, align to grid. You want to make sure that says all lines, and then you want the alignment to be left justify, or no, we just want left. That's right. There we go. So now it's on the left. Now it's been adjusted. You can hit OK. So now it falls exactly where it needs to be on the lines. And I'm just going to honestly shift this up just a little bit because it wasn't lining up properly, but now we've got it. There we go. All right, so that's all lined up. Everything looks good. You can try that on this inside page or apply it to your CD insert. So I just wanted to make sure we went over those things, what's going to be required, and it's really good to know and learn. It will take some practice in getting used to. Okay, oh wow, where does the time go? Okay, so let's move on. We're going to go to we're going to set up a new document here, file new. And I don't have the dimensions of let me check the dimensions of the CD and we'll go to that real quick. Okay, so for this one, we need it to be 4.75 high and 4.75 wide. So just a true square is what we're looking to create. So this is where we'll go 4.75 inches. Don't forget inches. 4.75 inches. And then I just tab it over. I believe, let's look at the example here. Let me share my desktop real quick. So you can see all my open windows. There it is. Okay, so for this one, now, are you able to hear me at all?
Okay, so I'm sorry, my mic wasn't plugged in correctly, so I just want to make sure it was in the right one. Okay, so if you can hear me, no problem. We're going to go ahead and look at this really quick. If you don't already have this up, it'd be good to pull it up. This is the PDF for your assessment. Now, please be aware that this will take some time. You're going to need 2 columns because it looks like it's in a 2-column grid here. It's got 2 columns of text. That would probably be a safe bet. So when we're creating our document, we want to make sure we set up the columns to say 2 columns right here. And you see it automatically divides it for you. So it gives you this nice clean gutter. You can adjust the gutter and everything, but I like to keep it at 1 P0, 1 pica. And keep everything else standard. You want to deselect facing pages. We do not want that box checked. Okay, so we want to make sure that it's not checked. Number of pages, we are going to need 4 pages, I believe. And it always helps to preview it. Click the preview box so you can make sure everything is the way it should be. Then I'll zoom out here, and you'll see you've got your 4 pages. Another thing that would be good to have open is if you go to your window pages, and this pages dialog box will open. The pages panel opens, and it will allow you to see what page you're working on. Okay, so now here's the tricky thing. This PDF has 4 PDFs within it, or has all the pages in it. So you're not going to be able to place all the pages like you have been able to with the example. So you could do 2 things. You can either open it in Photoshop and save each one, or do like a screenshot and then place it. So you kind of, if that helps. But it would be kind of good to practice just eyeballing the elements that you need and try to get it as close as possible. That would probably save you some time. I don't know if you necessarily have time to make copies or screenshots of each page, but it's up to you. And then you'll place it. Don't worry about this week 2. Do not use watermark. Yeah, you don't need to include this watermark here. It's just to show you. And then for a master page, we want to set up our master pages first. So let's get our layers out. Get our layers dialog box. These are all our panels that we're going to need to use. Panels, and I think that's it. So we're going to set this up. If you're using an example layer, you could put the example on here. But in this case, we're really not going to have it. So we're going to just use, I'm just going to do background, or let's see, images. Hit OK. And this one's going to be text. And then I don't think we're going to need a third one, actually. Let me see. I can't think. Yeah, I think that's all we need. We'll just keep it simple. Just want to make sure you're using your layers. It's good practice. All right, next we need to go to our master page, okay? So once we have everything set up, so we'll click on our master page. Yes, exactly. Amanda's pointing out that we're going to need certain fonts. It's very important to have. There's a fonts zip folder that you need to download. And you'll need to make sure that it says fonts for PC. I don't know if they've given a Mac document fonts. Yeah, so one for Mac, one for PC. Just make sure you download. Yeah, okay. This is new. I think I taught this 2 mods ago, and a student really pointed out it was really bugging him that we didn't have the exact fonts and that the students had to go and find the fonts. So I think they wound up supplying them, but when they did, some were only compatible for Mac and some were only compatible and not for PC. So I think they wound up going ahead and including 2 zip files, which I think saves you a ton of time. You don't have to go searching for the font, and it saves you a headache too. So since we've got students that are on different computers. Okay, so yes, just please note they do provide the fonts, and you do need to download those and install them. Have you installed a font before? That might be something we can. Okay, so I'm sure you have. I'll probably go over that if we have some time. I'll just get this document set up for you real quick, and then we'll go over how to install the font, because that is important as well. And then I'm going to go over how to package a file. I think that's good to know. We want to get all the points we deserve on this assignment. So I'm going to double click on my A master. You'll know it's highlighted when it's a shade of gray and not white. So you'll know that you have this selected. And I'm going to pull in my, let me open my zip folder real quick. There we are. I'm going to hide this, open my folder, and I want the background interior. So I'm going to move this over. Again, I'm just clicking and dragging, but you can do file place, and that's another way to place it. So if you'll notice, this is a little bit bigger than the document itself. You can do 2 things. You can either just kind of center it, or you can shrink it down by holding down Shift to constrain the proportions, or you can just bring the frame in on all sides and click Fill Frame Proportionately. And I think that would probably be the simplest way to do it. So with your text, you want to stay within this margin, this magenta square here. You want to keep things out of the gutter. This gutter is going to divide your text and your elements to kind of make a very defined grid system. But notice how I placed this one time. Now look at my pages over here, right here on page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. It applied it to all the pages. How cool is that? So I didn't have to go and place the background 4 different times. I just had to place it once. So it'd probably be a key thing to remember as you're doing this assignment before you tackle it, to look at the elements that are on all the pages and then go from there, put them on the master, And that way you don't have to do it multiple times. So I want to make sure I'm on my images layer. I'm going to just paste that in place, make sure it's placed. Okay, let's see. Let me bring up that PDF again. It looks like the headline is going to show up on all the pages. Oh no, just 2 of the pages. Yeah, so I don't see any other elements that'll really show up. As the picture will show up, that might be something good. You can always override that later. I'll grab the folder. We want this little country guy. Whoops. Only thing with dragging and dropping is you got to be careful that you don't drag it into a frame already. So I'll just drag it over here. And I'm going to hold down Shift to constrain the proportions. Fill frame proportionately. I'm going to center this. X is going to go right in the middle. You'll want to make sure your smart guides are turned on. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but if you go to View and you go to Grids and Guides, you want to make sure that you have smart guides turned on and snap to guides. What that does is kind of magnetically pulls in your object or your text box and snaps it into place for you. And that's nice to have. So make sure those 2 things are checked, because as you can see, when I hold down, it gives me that X and then it snaps it in line for me, and that's what I want. So that's about the size of my picture, and I'm going to put that there. Now it'll apply to all the pictures. Now you can choose to do this or not, and it's fine if you don't. What you'll do is when you get to your last page and you don't need it, you just right-click on the page, click Override All Master Items, and simply delete it. On page, let's see, looks like on page 2 and 3, when you get to the one with the cowboy hat, yeah, what it will do, actually, instead of putting the picture there, you could just draw a frame, and you can insert the picture from there. So what I'm going to do is just draw my frame. And that way it puts it in the same place on all the pictures, but you can choose to delete it if you want. So like on the cover, I'm going to right click, override all master items. I don't need that on the cover, but on page 2 and 3, I want them placed in the very same spot. So for page 2, that's where I'll go to File, Place, and then I'll place my image. So I think other than the background, that's probably all you'll really need for master items. Won't get into that too much. For the front cover, you're going to definitely need to place that guitar and then type out your fonts. So let's I'll do that guitar real quick. Now, are there any questions? Anything that you'll need to know before we close? Okay. So hopefully this is pretty self-explanatory. Now they've already given you the guitar. You're going to want to make sure that you're very careful with spacing. You can pull that PDF in if you'd like and design over it, and just make sure that you're on the right layer and that you do include paragraph styles. And I think that includes things for this time. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you'll need to know. Oh, how to install a font and then package a file. Okay, so you're given a fonts folder. Well, that one's been removed. Let me go and pull it down. So just one for Mac or PC, just make sure you download the correct folder. Once it's downloaded, I'm going to open my zip folder. And you'll open the folder just like you would any other file. You're going to want to let's see. If you double click on them, it'll open your font book. And then it'll pop up install font. So you'll hit install. It'll validate it, then it'll show you, hey, it made it into your font book. Okay, and you'll have to do that for each one. So just double click on them, click install font, and then you should have all the fonts that you need for this. Okay, so pretty simple. You're not sure if PC, yeah, I don't know how PC works. I don't have a PC, so hopefully it's similar. You should have a folder for your fonts. You might not have a font book, but you'll have a folder for it. And if you need any help, I would go to the tutoring center. Unfortunately, I don't have a PC, so I'm not very familiar with that platform as far as installing fonts is concerned. But I'm sure that the tutoring center could help you. They could step you through it. But yeah, that's a good point, Amanda. I'm not sure either. Okay, so let's talk about packaging a file. I know this is probably going to be review for you, but it's probably important to know. So once you have, we'll start with we'll go back to our newsletter file here. All right, so we've got our assignment all done. We finished this cool little flag and it's ready to roll. What you're gonna need to do is go to File, Package. There's a button that even says it, Package. Once you click Package, it's gonna give you a summary. What's missing? Do you have pictures that are missing? Do you have links that are, fonts that are missing? If everything is okay, you'll hit Package. In this case, it's not, but hit Package. You'll hit Save, because I didn't save it. You'll give it a name, give it an area where you want it to save to. Hit, I'm going to save this as DES 105, example. Hit Save. This is printing instructions. This is where if you were sending it to a printer, you'd want to give your contact information because it creates a little text document in the folder as well. And this is where printers can open it up, see any information. In this case, you won't need it, but it's always nice to kind of get in the habit of labeling it with your file name. Hit OK. This is where you'll place the folder, and this is where it's going to create your PDF. So here at the bottom, it says Select PDF Preset. If you were going to send this to a printer, you definitely want to send a high-quality print PDF. But because you're uploading this, we want to save the space and not take forever. So we're going to click Smallest File Size. This is for preview purposes. And then you'll want to just keep everything as it is. Hit Package. It'll ask you about font restrictions and copyright. It'll say overset sometimes. Just hit OK. It's not really, can't really affect the transparency. And it takes just a minute or two to do this. Okay, so there you go. So now it's been packaged. Where'd it go? Wherever you had saved it. I like saving things to my desktop and then filing one way later, whatever works for you. In this case, my design folder is over here. I'm going to right click on it. First, I'd like to show you what looks like, what a package folder looks like. You've got your text document. This is the information that you would send to your printer. Let me just open it up for you. Yeah, it gives all the information. If you had special instructions, other notes, other than that, you won't need it. It's just kind of nifty. So this is how you know it's a package folder. It's got your text document. It has your InDesign file in there. It has a PDF all ready to go. And your document fonts. This already includes the fonts for me. So say you sent it to me and I didn't have those fancy fonts that are in your CD insert assignment. They'll already be included in this package folder, so I can download them onto my computer and view it the way that you have it laid out. Remember, if I don't have a font, it will default to a font that I do have, and sometimes they don't match up and it will look completely different. So we want to make sure that we always package a file. So the document fonts folder is there, and then your links folder right here. And this links will include every single photo that you're using. That's why it's important when it says you can't find, no link, or 5 links can't be found, or if it says something like that, then you're going to need to go back and relink those photos. And let me show you, in case it does do that, and this is also a common thing, if you click on a photo and then later on you refile it or move it, like if I were to move, I usually download things and then in my downloads folder, and then I place them, and then later on I'll go file them away. It will say, well, I can't find it. And this is where you can go and adjust things. Go to links. Your links panel will pop up. And I like to widen this because it does take up quite a bit of space. Now, if it couldn't find anything, you'd see a little exclamation mark right here. But this says okay, so it's just fine. It knows where I've put everything. Now I'm going to go to my downloads folder. I'm actually going to, let me see if I'll delete the downloads so that it can't find it. Move to trash. Okay, so now when I do that, let's see if it'll, oh, I don't know where I downloaded it or pulling it from. Let me empty the trash and see. Oh, it's pulling it from here. Well, okay, I'll delete this folder then. Okay, now it has all these question marks. Where is it? That means that the files no longer exist. So wherever you had downloaded it, you must have deleted it. It has no idea. It says it's missing. So you'll double click the picture and you'll have to go find it. You'll have to go find it, and then it'll say open, and then you relink it that way. So that's how you'll find it. Let's see if anything else. I think that's all you'll need to know. Pages, master pages, we went over all that. Are there any questions? Yeah, thanks, Amanda. I forgot I already packaged it. Oh, and to zip it. Okay, so a lot of students said, well, I've already zipped my file. It's fine, right? No, you're not supposed to just zip the InDesign file. You need to zip the actual packaged folder, and you'll know it's packaged because it'll give it the name plus folder. It'll say Design 105 example folder. So you'll once you've double clicked it to make sure everything's in there, you'll just hit compress, and it creates this really nifty zip file. And this is the one that you'll put on upload to Dropbox, okay? And it's more of a compressed file, so it's smaller, and it will allow you to upload a little quicker and allow for me to download a lot faster. And everyone's happy that way. So it kind of packages everything up really neat and tidy. All right, I think that concludes our lecture for today. Are there any questions, anything that you need to know, want to know? Again, my open lab is tomorrow at, let's see, 7:30 to 9:30 Mountain Standard Time. Depending on what time zone you're in, hopefully you can come. I will be allowing those, make those resubmissions once your work's been critiqued. So make sure that you get that done, because that's super important to remember. Want you guys to take advantage of that opportunity, okay? All right, there's no questions. We'll go ahead and end class. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you watching from home. I'll go ahead and make sure to post that link, that YouTube link on aligning things to the baseline grid, just in case you need a quick refresher since we kind of flew over it. But you'll have that link, and then the grading rubrics are posted. So take those quizzes and get 5s on them, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for coming.